And the game one of the final of the Rush Duel starts right now. 2 players, 1 title. KiryuRyo on the blue side. And we have Yume Hara on the red side. We are going to start the game right now. We're starting the Destroyer. We saw a very weird opening because we just set 3 cards on the side of KiryuRyo, which is not really what you want to do because you want to summon some monsters first. You want to just have the least card as possible in your hand so that you are able to draw 5 cards. But we are not going to be able to do that during the next turn. And we see already 3 monsters on the side of Yume Hara. We need to have this card, the Shiny Shady. Of course, we know how impactful this card is during this meta, and it might be a very good timing to just activate this card on the Void Veil Crusader, or maybe you just keep it for the next move. What's your thought about that?
I mean, I think one of the main aspects to consider when you play against Dark Galaxy is they can very easy access to seal the game out very easily. And for sure, one of the main aspects that we have been discussing also throughout these Swiss rounds is, of course, the use of trap cards. And here it is, the first copy of Shiny Shady.
We can see the Shiny Shady. What an impactful trap card. We are going to be able to put the Void Veil Crusader face down on the field. And that's pretty good, of course.
And I mean, speaking yesterday with Yume, I just told you that he was speaking about the Dark Galaxy. I didn't want to spoil anything because obviously he's in the final, but he truly believes the deck. He truly believes that he's a very good counter option to the current meta. He finds it very good against the Light Galaxy, for example, and obviously a card like Shiny Shady that has been just activated. It is quite good, but it is one of the decks that Dark Galaxy can go through it if he has obviously the correct answers, right?
Absolutely, and we talked about this card because, I mean, this is a very, very important card in the current format, and having a deck that can just go through these interruptions is very, very good. And as you just mentioned, yeah, Dark Galaxy is a very good deck for that. But for now, we are going to enter battle phase and inflict the first damages of the final, 1,500 LPs less, and we are going to draw 4 more cards on the side of KiryuRyo to try to just start the game.
And I mean, KiryuRyo at the moment is probably on Spellcasters, and I believe that it is one of those decks that are not quite confident against Dark Galaxy, meaning that Spellcasters want to see spell and trap cards, right? They want to see their opponents setting spell and trap cards in order to destroy them through their powerful spells, such as the Ghost Cyclone. And it is very important for spellcasters to play through. However, we saw that Yume didn't set any spell and trap card. In the one hand, this is obviously good for their opponents since they can understand that there is no Shiny Shady in game. However, for example, you cannot discard Ghost Cyclone like this. It is one of the things that you really want to avoid.
And also I really feel like that we also discussed how important it is to be conservative sometimes, just to understand what is the right moment to push. Especially because I really feel like that sometimes we have seen very sought after games, whereas sometimes it was just a matter of couple of turns to basically seal out the games. What I really like about spellcasters is, of course, their skill, which essentially gives you very easy access also to fusion, thanks to the Master Accel Road. I really feel like in general yesterday one of the main fusion cards that was summoned from the extra deck was, of course, the Seven Road Charming Witch, and I mean, I think the deck is very consistent. I think plays very well around the format. But what also we have been discussed yesterday was how basically our players were adapting their play style not only according to their opponent, but also adjusting it throughout the entire day. Because I think you can also sometimes prepare for a tournament with a certain strategy and adapt it throughout the tournament, knowing that your opponent may know what your choices may be. And I also really feel like that entering, as mentioned before, into the final, being undefeated, puts a lot of pressure to your opponent.
Absolutely, yeah, we can see that, but for now, KiryuRyo is just going to finally enter the game very, very convincingly. He now entered battle phase, he literally just wiped the opponent's field, and yeah, I think that he's pretty much well into the game with 2 set cards, which might be some threats for his opponents, and he has now 3 monsters, so little by little, he's just trying to build the control onto the game.
And to be honest, I like those mini games that Sensei has input into the game right now. For example, we can see that KiryuRyo has set 2 spell or traps cards on the field and has 1 card in the hand. This may be bluff or this may be a Sensei. However, Yume, he's playing a World Championship final. He is not sure he has to respect every opportunity that his opponent may have, that a Sensei may interact with him, may stop him from advancing his game state, and obviously, in the end, they may be, for example, Fusion and a Go Cyclone, and maybe just a bluff, to be honest. But, for example, right now we see a set monster, probably for the tribute summon, maybe.
Doesn't really seem too happy with this, and you can tell he's smiling because also we know that it's very difficult sometimes to play around Shiny Shady, but I think it's what even more difficult is thinking if your opponent has you or not. Because I think what we mentioned is a lot of times during our stream is mind games, and of course setting spell cards, it's something very important in Rush Duel because you really want to draw new fresh cards out of your deck, and sometimes Shiny Shady is not there, it's simply not there. So you may be holding 1 card in your hand and maybe your opponent thinks, yeah, okay, maybe I think he's just waiting for the right moment, but it's not there.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen that yesterday, by the way. 3 set cards, but it was
And
lethal.
that was the first of game 1.
It is game. It is game right now. You talk about that, the fact that maybe the set cards, sometimes they are not what you think they are. We've seen the Shiny Shady once, but the 2 other set cards, they were not here to just protect himself. And in that case, it is 1-0. So now this is a very important moment because, of course, you are leading the way and you can just be in the driver's seat. And being in the driver's seat is very, very good for the mindset. You know that you can allow yourself to just make some mistakes and lose the next game. And it is very, very good for the confidence. But on the other hand, for KiryuRyo, I mean, that must be a little bit scary. You are up against a very, very good player, and this guy just made a very convincing game, controlling the pace, and you couldn't do a lot, to be honest. So he has to just reset and be confident for the next game, because of course nothing's done. We've seen some reverse sweep yesterday, and we can definitely see that today.
Absolutely, and I think what is important mentioning is that I think Yume Hara knew that was his only play. Like, you could really tell he was really hoping that the attack went through, and the strategy worked out. Because, I mean, as we mentioned, I think sometimes it is the small details that our players are going to win games. And, yeah, sometimes Shiny Shady is not going to be there, and that was the case. So it was just like, if he has it, I may not have this one. If he doesn't, I maybe won. Oh, so it's...
And I mean, we have to appreciate the little mini games that went through this first game. For example, Yume, as we said before, he has like a secret pick, if we can call it, Dark Galaxy, meaning that it's not one of those decks that you want to bring in the World Championships. It's not considered from the player base to be one of the 4th or 5th best deck right now. However, he wanted in order to counter the Light Galaxy strategy, right? So I believe that Yume was thinking that KiryuRyo will start with Light Galaxy probably just to establish his power, just to play one of the best decks right now, and wanted to counter that with Dark Galaxy. However, KiryuRyo probably went with the logic that he didn't want to use right now his best deck. He went for Spellcasters, who is very familiar with, to be honest, and in order to counter cards like Shiny Shady and obviously all the other legendary traps, right? However, as we saw a beautiful matchup, in between those Dark Galaxy and Spellcasters, there's no clue where the game will end. However, we are going to see Game 2 right now starting.
And the game 2 is starting right now. We already see the first turn of KiryuRyo with 3 set cards and 2 monster sets. So this is pretty optimal, to be honest, because you are going to draw 5 cards on your next turn and be able to try to take the control of the game, try to keep the pace, you know. But on the other hand, it shows that you don't have the Shiny Shady because we don't see any card in his hand. And of course, you have to discard one to just activate the effect. So pretty good start, and we are going to see how his opponent is gonna react to that.
And to be honest, I want to ask you, Alberto, how do you feel about Light Galaxy against baseball?
I mean, we saw it in the Swiss rounds as well in action, and I mean, we have to tell you that baseball wins games against Light Galaxy. I mean, I really feel like that Light Galaxy is one of those decks that I think it's the most scariest deck of the entire format. But I also feel like, as you mentioned, Mike, Dark Galaxy was brought here for a reason and to counteract Light Galaxy. Baseball, I think, plays very well sometimes around Shiny Shady, and because he has a lot of normal monsters as well, which are not affected by Shiny Shady. But I mean, I really feel like that the skill of Light Galaxy is incredible. Basically, getting rid of 2 cards and drawing 2 fresh cards, as we mentioned, it's something that really sometimes it's just too much, you know. So it's sometimes very unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really like, to be honest, the baseball strategy. Being able to use the effect of player 99 is always very, very strong because you end up having 2 monsters on the field and a lot of attack points, which usually just puts so much pressure on your opponent that the guy in front of you, I mean, he has to do something. He has to do something. Otherwise, the next turn, it is going to be very difficult for him. Unless he has, of course, a trap card. We've seen, of course, the Shiny Shady, but also the negate attack, which was very, very strong, clutch in a game yesterday. So, yeah, I think that baseball has a lot for him. And the fact that there are a lot of normal monsters, of course, as you just mentioned, is very good into the current metagame.
And to be honest, Yume, we have spoke together yesterday, and he was telling me that his favorite card is Secret Order. It is the card that he wants to see, and to be honest, if not Light Galaxy to the deck to have it, then who? I'm guessing that it will be activated in his turn, and to be honest, I want to see Galactic Oblivion to be summoned. I want to see the animation in the final of the World Championship.
Yeah, this card is obviously very, very beautiful. We said that yesterday, and I think we both love this card. But for now, I mean, we are just going to have the 3 set cards, and we don't have much, to be honest.
Not at all, especially because... Wow, is there an attack? Is that it?
Really? Is it going to be it? I mean, if you have something, this is the time, but no, there is nothing.
Is that it?
And all of a sudden, we are 2-0 in the grand finals of the World Championship. I mean, what a game once again. And KiryuRyo is back against the wall. It's going to be very hard. We talked about that a little bit earlier. I mean, being 1-0, it's fine because you still have some safety. You can still lose 1 game. But now being 2-0 down, I mean, this is very, very scary for him. How is he going to do to just get back into the game? He has to win 3 games in a row, and we know that his opponent is very, very good. So, I mean, he's going to have to just find the resources to just get back on track, and I mean, that must be very hard to feel.
And to be honest, I wasn't expecting that 3 spell and traps face down was not one single Shady there. I was very surprised, to be honest, because when Light Galaxy passes the turn without even summoning monsters, I'm obviously expecting some defenses, but there were none. And as we saw, Yume would take the win. With what deck again, Alberto?
Baseball, I mean, I've been thinking about the deck, I think maybe also while I'm asleep, honestly, because, I mean, we mentioned this before, baseball can beat Light Galaxy, and I think the very good thing about baseball is it plays incredibly well around Shiny Shady, because the monsters that Yume Hara had on the field were normal monsters which are not affected by Shiny Shady, because Shiny Shady only effect monster. And, I mean, this way, I really think, like, if you draw 5 fresh new cards with Light Galaxy, you also use the skill, and you pass. That must have been incredibly hard, honestly, for KiryuRyo. And back against the wall, as you mentioned, Jean-Alexis, And honestly, here we're now entering into game 3, and there's not going to be any mistakes from KiryuRyo, because otherwise it's going to be over. But we will soon find out also the card choices and the decks they're going to be playing into this game 3.
Absolutely back against the wall, and he is going to have to just win 3 games in a row. He can do it, he wants to do it, and he's going to have to do it if he really wants to lift the trophy and win the title. KiryuRyo is now going to have to face the Ghost Cyclone, which is going to literally destroy the Shiny Shady. And what a good start for Yume Hara. There he is going to get rid of the only interruptions on the side of KiryuRyo and just leave him with only 2 monsters in defense position. What is he gonna do next? That is very important. Of course, we know that in this game, we want to just get the control on the game. It's all about just keep up with the pace of your opponent and be able to just give the final blow at the end of the turn.
And to be fair, right now we have Spellcaster against Redwood. Those are the decks that are currently into the meta for the case of the Spellcasters, right? As we talked before, destroying spell and trap are very important right now, as we could obviously see yesterday, right? However, for Redwood, they have a very strong weakness. Yume Hara knows that it is the Shiny Shady, and I want to see how he's going to approach this matchup, meaning that obviously if you want to set some spell trap cards, it is one of those decks that spellcasters like to do. It is part of their strategy, and obviously with Shiny Shady in their arsenal, they may be very scary against Redwood, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, especially because the Ghost Cyclone now has just destroyed the Shiny Shady, honestly, which was there this time around. And you can really tell that, I mean, Spellcasters is really one of those decks that, I mean, it's been a must of our duelists this weekend. And it's just the skill alone does so much. And you can really tell that Yume Hara is just mastering the deck, just thinking very carefully about what his next move can be. And it's been very conservative in the games we have seen so far, but also very smart in the position of understanding, do I have this one? Can I just push enough damage to close my opponent and win it out?
And I mean, at this moment, set 3 monsters and 1 spell trap into our field looks very scary for Redwood, meaning that when Yume Hara has also 2 cards in his hand, he can only mean one thing, to be honest. I truly believe that there is a Shiny Shady there which can very, very good interact with the Redwood strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. But 6 cards in hand for now for KiryuRyo, who is thinking carefully about his next move. And I think he's pretty right, because of course he doesn't have the right to do any mistake right now. I remind you of the score, 2-0 for Yume Hara Sensei, and KiryuRyo will have to win the 3 next games. For now, he's going to have to face probably, I think you're right, Mike, I think this is a Shiny Shady right there, even if we have seen yesterday some cases where it was not the card, even if you kept some cards in hand, but it might be. So you have to play around it anyway, even if it is not. But yeah, for now, we are going to get the fusion from the deck, and that is a pretty good start, to be honest.
Absolutely, especially because we mentioned how important the extra deck is for Rush Duel, and especially for such decks. And with the Redwood, for example, you have sometimes access to the Redwood Boost Dragon with just as being normal summoned. And thanks to Dragon Boost Fusion, you most of the times go for the best fusion monsters of the deck in the forms of Redwood Enhanced Boost Dragon. Sometimes that is the plan, especially because we also seen how important it is to play with the graveyard.
Wolves and Wyvern issues down the field, and we are 1 fusion away from summoning our best monster, Redwood Enhanced Boost Dragon. Can we go for that? Will be summoned into our grand final. And yes, Redwood Enhanced Boost Dragon has reached finally the final of the World Championship.
I mean, we honestly seen this card so many multiple times throughout the 2 days, and I mean, this card itself does so much, and it is incredibly scary. I really feel like that the only card counteracting it at the very moment it hits the field is Shiny Shady, but this is resolving.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely, absolutely. And this is very scary because, of course, this card is very good. We've seen yesterday, Alberto, the fact that you can literally end the game very, very fast with this card. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be the case here. I don't think so. But you still have the ability to put so much pressure on your opponent. But for now, we are going to summon this Tri-Peak Wyvern. And yeah, this is pretty convincing for now. So we get back the fusion from the graveyard and we have another card in hand. We are going to be able to just activate the effect of the Red Boot Boost Dragon. And yeah, now we can see KiryuRyo just fighting. And I mean, I'm happy about that, to be honest.
Yeah.
And to be honest, we can understand that there's no Sunny Shady in the field of Yume Hara, since if there was, it would be immediately activated into Red Boot Enhanced Boost Dragon before activating the effect to deal some damage.
I mean, I really feel like this was a very good turn, especially because you leave your opponent with 2900 life points, and you're putting a lot of pressure, especially because you have two set cards. As mentioned, there's no cards in end, which means there's not going to be any Shiny Shady. But still, I mean, we saw quite a few very good trap cards, such as Trap Pull, Wet Spread Ruin, Negate Attack, for example. There are a lot of different trap cards that have been played throughout the format. But here, once again, I really feel like it's all on Yume Hara, because I think the field is quite established for KiryuRyo. And we really need to see if he finds a way to come back into this one, because new cards have been drawn, and I really feel like it's on him at the moment.
7 Road Witch has been summoned into the field alongside with one of my favorite cards, to be honest, 7 Road Magician. And I want to see right now when he's going to be summoned into the field, having a very, very good effect actually. I really like it that he can boost his own attack, right?
I mean, I think we've mentioned it a lot of times how important it is to play with the graveyard this weekend. Like Galaxy, Spellcasters, Heroes, Red Boot, Baseball, that brings back player 39. I mean, I think playing with the graveyard is extremely important, and I think the management of resources even better. And that's why also we've seen some of our duelists playing Pot of Avarice, for example, which it's one of those cards that you really love to see in action every single time it's being activated. And it's really one of those cards that it really puts you in a very better situation for grind games. You can really tell here Yume Hara is just trying maybe to testing the waters, just you know, trying his best, but there's no activation from his opponent, and here we see.
You talked about that. You talked about getting back the resources from the graveyard into the deck, and with this talismanic seal array, you are able to do so. Plus, he is going to be able to lower the attack of the fusion on the side of KiryuRyo, and he's going to get rid of it in the battle phase. So we see the game plan of spellcasters slowly just getting in track, because we know that this deck just wants to control the game, and all of a sudden you use the 7 Road Witch, you just fuse, and from that point, all of a sudden you win the game. And that is what he is going to build right now.
However, Supersonic Fusion Enhancement has been activated, giving KiryuRyo one Bowser Wyvern from his deck into his own hand. Then he sent the fusion, if I believe, yes, if I can see correctly. And now I want to see how he's going to play through this field, because we have to consider that Yume Hara has less than half of his life points right now, which is very important in Rush Duel.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about that, the fact that the life points are a resource, of course, but the lower it goes, I mean, the harder it is to just survive. You know that your opponent will just be able to get back into the game after the next turn, because, of course, you will draw a lot of cards. You will just get back to 5 cards. And if you don't have those precious trap cards, it's going to be very hard for you to just keep surviving and just stay into the game, basically. So yeah, as you just mentioned, I mean, 2,400 life points.
The materials for the Red Boot Enhancement Boost Dragon are on the field, and this can only be one thing. Can we see again Red Boot Enhanced Boost Dragon be summoned into the field?
I mean, I think it's also important to mention how life points matter, because KiryuRyo is slowly reducing Yume Hara's life points, and here, as you mentioned, Mike, Dragon Boost Fusion gets activated, and we get to see once again Red Bull Enhanced Boost Dragon.
And this is very scary.
If there
to
is
be
no
honest.
Sunny Shade in this game, to be honest.
Yeah, that is right. But he's going to be able to once again put a lot of pressure on his opponent. And we see 3 set cards, but for now none has been activated. So I am very curious to see if this is only some
And
bait,
obviously the Sunny
or
Shady as a
if there
response
is a Shiny
to
Shady.
Red Bull Enhanced Boost Dragon. We were talking all day long yesterday. We were talking for this right now. It is one of the reasons why Red Bull is not competing very well right now into the meta. Sunny Shady is countering this deck a lot. However, we see the curse and the response from KiryuRyo.
And this is a very good card. We've seen that yesterday. Of course, this card has been activated a countless amount of times. And yeah, this is very good because you can play with the position of the opponent's monster. Plus, you can just draw 2 cards. And yes, sometimes you will just make your opponent draw some cards and just be able to let him activate the Shiny Shady because, of course, you need this card in hand. But also, I mean, it gives you some fuel to just end the game and apply a lot of pressure, which is what he's going to do right now with the Double Toon Dragon.
I mean, I really feel like that Yume Hara was forced to activate the Shiny Shady right there. But it's also true that the Course of the Rising Light, I think it was the perfect spot to activate it. But next turn, yeah. I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense because once the Shiny Shady hits the field, we saw how disruptive it is. It completely shuts down your strategy. And although the Curse of the Rising Light was there, now I think there's a window in which Yume Hara maybe take advantage of this situation. We will find out.
And I mean, it was very important that Sunny Shady was targeting Red Bull's Enhanced Boost Dragon for its effect, since it was also able to gain 1,500 life points, which is very important.
Absolutely, and now we see the fusion, and we will see finally the 7th Road Charmy Witch, which is so important in the spellcaster strategy. I mean, this card, when it hits the field, then you are all of a sudden able to just launch all of your plays and put a lot more pressure on your opponent. So seeing it, I mean, we've seen it a lot of times this weekend, but seeing it once again is very, very good for Yume Hara. And we are going to see a second fusion. We are going to fuse away those 2 monsters and let the 7th Paladin hit the field. So now we are going to accelerate the things. We have seen the control part of the spellcasters, but now we just want to end the game.
And to be honest, I think this might be a game actually, since 7th Paladin has gained so much attack. He's 4,900 life attack points, while 7th Road Charming Witch is not only that she has a wonderful effect, but also can inflict piercing damage, which is very relevant right now. And do not forget that KiryuRyo is in 4,100 life points.
Absolutely, we are going to enter battle phase. Is it?
Is that it?
Is this?
And
this
I think we have a World Champion!
It is the World Championship! A convincing victory! 3-0 for Yume Hara Sensei, who is your new World Champion in the Rush Duel category. What a game! What a final! I mean, this guy, what he just did was absolutely amazing. Undefeated, what a champion!
I mean, what a performance. We've mentioned this before. Undefeated throughout the Swiss rounds, wins the semi-final, comes into the final and wins 3-0. What a performance, honestly.
He just performed. He told me yesterday all his knowledge, he gave it to me. I knew what was going to happen. I was totally trusting him. He's one of the best and currently the best player in the world. He's the world champion in Rush Duel, and I mean, he just showed us why. He went 3-0 undefeated into the World Championship final, and he established dominance. He established why he needs to consider as the best of the best and why he's the world champion.
I mean, honestly, I'm speechless. Like, after seeing game 1 in which he essentially just tried his best and yeah, let me try it. If it works, maybe it's gonna work out, and you know, work out because he wins game 1, goes into game 2, and also once again I think the plan was incredible because he decided to bring baseball, which we mentioned. I think it's a very, very good deck, and now the world champion played baseball, so I think, you know, I was justified to liking the deck. And I mean, I really feel like the baseball deck has a very good matchup, especially in this current format against Shiny Shady. A lot of normal monsters, no effect. You just enter battle phase, attack, and that was it.
Absolutely, you can apply pressure so easily with this deck, and the fact that you have the player 99 and the player 39, which are some really great cards. I mean, the baseball deck, to be honest, it is a very strong one. We didn't put it in our top 3 when we just talked about that earlier and yesterday, but this is a very, very good deck. But on the other hand, I just want to think also about his opponent, because that was still a very great game. Unfortunately, he didn't have the chance to just express himself during this final, and that must be heartbreaking, yes, but he's the second best player in the world right now. So still congratulations to him, and yeah, I hope that he'll not be too disappointed, you know.
I mean, absolutely not, especially because, I mean, it was an incredible year of action. To qualify for the World Championship is absolutely no joke. I mean, we mentioned this before, it's only 8 best players in the room competing for the World Championship title. And honestly, I mean, coming second place, it's still an incredible performance. But congratulations to our new Rush Duel World Champion, who is now with our wonderful host, Ed Templar. Ed, take it away.
Attention duelists, we have a 2025 Rush Duel World Champion, Yume Hara Sensei! Please come and lift your trophy! Congratulations, Yume Hara Sensei. How does it feel to be the world champion?
おめでとうございます。今の気分は
最高です。
Great.
Is there anyone you would like to say thank you to? Anybody you'd like to shout out in this moment?
今感謝の気持ちを伝えたい方などいますでしょうか。
ちょうど壇上のそちらにいらっしゃいますともさんです。
We'd like to thank Tomo Tomo-san, who's over there.
Thank you very much, Thomas, and congratulations one more time. I'm going to let you lift that trophy one more time for our amazing audience at home, but give it up for your new Rush Duel champion! Our first champion has been crowned today, but we still have 2 more finals ready to come your way. The first of which will be the Speed Duel as part of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, and then we'll be having the Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel Final. So it's going to be an action-packed day for our digital titles. Don't go anywhere, because in perfect style, the Speed Duel will be along speedily. But we're going to throw you guys over to an analyst to talk about that amazing final we've just seen for our new world champion.
Made for the best. Made for who you can be.
Yume Hara Sensei came out on top there in the Rush Duel category, being a new and basically being the first world champion being crowned here this weekend.
What a sweep as well, convincing 3-0 there. Didn't look close in the first 2 games, even in the third one it was a little bit more of a back and forth versus Michael there, but just pulled through there after all.
In the end, he really seemed calm the entire time as well. When you looked at his face cam, he was there, he was chilling, he was cruising.
Put the arms back, chilling like that.
He was putting up a show there, and in the end, impressively showed it with a 3-0, like the cleanest you can do it. A clean sweep that made it happen, that brought him the victory, that brought him the title, and we of course have some moments from that final prepared for you to look at together. So let's go into the first replay. Let's talk about the first moment of that final that we witnessed there just now. And the first moment basically is from game number 1, where it was sort of revealed what even is the one deck on the side of KiryuRyo, who was playing the 7th Road Magician, the Spellcaster deck essentially, which is one of the classics in Rush Duel, basically there since the beginning.
And the deck really needs a little bit to get going, right? It does sound odd for Rush Duel, right? But it is a very grindy deck, wants to get bigger into the engine. And if you don't find the time, that's gonna be tough.
It was actually interesting because if you know Rush Duel for a while, usually it was always monster, monster, monster. It wasn't that much about the trap cards. We saw there though, the opening turn from KiryuRyo with 2 set monsters and 3 set spell and trap cards. One of them, of course, being the impactful Shiny Shady that is now so dominant in the format. And it wasn't enough though in the end, because highlight number 2, we have captured the victory there. The attacking for game move then from Yume Hara Sensei, who brought out the Void Valkyrie, and that one is so strong as it's used its effect, sent the top 3 cards from the deck to the graveyard, and he got a little bit lucky with it, right?
If it hits a Dark Galactic monster, it is going to be able to attack again. If you have them more than 3, you are just destroying all of these level 8 or lower monsters. It is an incredibly powerful card.
Yeah, on its own, it basically there sealed the deal, because it did destroy all of the opponent's monsters and then could attack twice with enough attack points to end the game completely on its own, bringing it into a 1-0 lead for our now new world champion. But let's go into the second match. Next highlight coming your way. And of course, if you remember, of course, that one was kind of odd, I want to say almost, because we saw there we are drawing 5 cards on the side for KiryuRyo, which is pretty common, of course, for Rush Duel. The next thing we saw, though, wasn't as common. Okay, Galactica Fusion draw, yup. Drawing even more cards, but we are passing.
Yeah, that is crazy to not be able to play any monsters, any meaningful cards. They're having set all of those 3 spell and trap cards. Of course, you want to draw in the draw phase again, but if you have nothing to play then on the next turn, that might actually cost you the game. And if you're looking at this is not the strongest field I've ever seen.
Doesn't feel like that.
That's 3 vanillas.
Yes, but it was absolutely enough, because there just was not coming anything after from KiryuRyo, and therefore that was the moment where game number 2 then was sealed.
Whereas Tinatrix didn't even have to hit.
That is indeed the case, but that brought it to an already pretty desperate situation here for the player from Oceania, because he was already in that situation where he was barely even in competition anymore. He could still back sweep with a 3-0. Of
course, always possible. Never
always
count
possible.
out people who are 0-2 down. We've seen that in a Master Duel semifinal as well. There's
and he
always
was doing his best.
Yeah.
He was doing his best, because in the next highlight, we really could see also in the camera from Yume Hara Sensei that he seemed upset about this moment as we went with the Red Boot Enhanced Boost Dragon, and really you could tell he was going. This Dragon deck, of course, being so strong, and we see the effect now from the Red Boost Dragon, essentially putting back so many cards from the graveyard to then apply burn damage, effect damage to the opponent's life points, and it seemed like it was going into the direction of KiryuRyo again, but was it really?
You got to burn so much. The deck refills the graveyard every single time and then shuffles those cards back to burn more, and then the Red Boot Enhanced Boost Dragon there is, of course, the big game winner for the deck. But if there is so much defense on the side of your opponent, you just can't push through. Got really close to winning that game, but just not quite enough. I think 1,800 life points, which is not a lot in Rush Duel, but it's still some.
It's still 6,000 life points that they start with, and then still he was continuing to try. Highlight number 5. So a very interesting interaction. Still in that 3rd game, of course, as we only got to see 3rd games overall. And we had there the response with the Shiny Shady to that big fusion monster, but it came Curse of the Rising Light. And you see there, we had Yume Hara Sensei there, putting his hands on top of his head, not really being too happy about that spell card being activated, because the magicians, the spellcasters on the side of Yume Hara have not really gotten rolling there. We saw no fusion summons until that very moment from him, and therefore that card there, being able to draw 2 cards for both players, could have been the moment to really run away for KiryuRyo.
The Rising Light also a really interesting card in the meta game, just because the Shiny Shady, sometimes if you play all of your cards from your hand, it is not live, you have to discard something, and then all of a sudden, you get 2 cards again.
Yeah, and you got 2 cards, but even though we got 2 new cards with the Curse of a Rising Light, we couldn't really follow it up with much more. That brought it back over to the turn of Yume Hara Sensei. And our last highlight that we have remaining, let's get into that last highlight, is where finally the fusion started to happen. We had the Master Axel Road skill to Axis Fusion number 2, I think it was. We even kept on going. We had access to that also powerful 7th Paladin next to the Witch, and we just didn't stop there.
And this is what the spellcasters want to do, that they want to get rolling, they want to set up those powerful fusions and then attack, gain so much attack, and then just go for game later on after controlling the game. A little bit of setup, and then oh so powerful.
And that is our last highlight. We still see it there. We're shuffling back, and of course, we're only waiting. And you could already tell in the face cam of KiryuRyo, he took the headset off. He knows those decks. He knows how it goes. He knows that these monsters are big enough to attack. We see 4,900 attack points on the 7th Paladin being the deciding factor here, as there are monsters in attack position, 3,700 points of damage, and that is also followed by that direct attack down there to make Yume Hara Sensei our new Rush Duel World Champion.
Attacking with the 7th Road Charmy Witch. How much more iconic could it be?
Indeed. And that is absolutely how that story is written now. We have a new glorious champion, the champion of the world. And of course, with that glorious champion, we want to talk now. We're going to give it back over to the stage where our world champion is waiting.